Roar Nation, Promise Keepers is back. July 31st, 2020. Estimated 80,000 men will be gathering at the AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Speakers are going to rock the house. It's going to be a full lineup, and on top of that, worship is going to be amazing. Why am I telling you so far in advance? Because tickets are on sale and they're slowly selling out. So, that being said, I hope I see you there. I am planning on going. Go to promisekeepers.org to get info and tickets. Again, go to promisekeepers.org. See you there.
Welcome to Are You Real? Finding the Authentic You, the podcast that focuses on Christians that are active in everyday life. Join in as we speak to everyone from successful business owners to educators to athletes about their faith and how it helps them reach out and revolutionize those around them to do the same. And now get ready to roar with your host, the voice of manifestation, Jon Fuller.
Hey, Roar Nation, Jon Fuller here. I am your host today, and I am fired up for a friend of mine by the name of Zach Lush. But before we dive into today's podcast, I do want to tell you, if you have followed us for any length of time, now over the last 3 years, we pretty much have never missed a show, especially the last 2.5 years. But this last year, 6 months, has been incredibly busy for us as a season. And within the last month, my wife lost her brother. I lost my mom, and I've had multiple things in our lives that have kind of been tragedies and having to overcome stuff. So we are going to be doing an episode on that as well here coming up soon between Casey and I. But I just want to tell you guys, Roar Nation, I apologize. It's always been my heart and my goal to bring you guys an episode every week. Just to encourage you guys, to inspire you to be not just better people, but to find purpose and just love Jesus and encourage you. So that being said, I'm sorry we have not been able to be consistent the last 4 weeks, but we are able to launch this week. So excited about that. Today, we're going to be talking about marketing, building business, a little bit of branding, and some other stuff. So that being said, Zach, are you ready to roar?
I am ready to roar, my friend. Looking forward to this.
Come on now. So Roar Nation, check this out. This is kind of funny, the kind of day I've had. Zach and I got up early this morning, did an entire show first thing this morning, and Zoom decided to reset its button somehow on the upgrade this morning. And we got to the very end of the show, and I looked down to stop recording and found out we never recorded. So thank you for that. Anyways, we had a pre-run, and we're excited to do it, right, Zach?
Absolutely, brother. And just heartfelt, just what you guys are going through with your family. I know it's a tough time. So praying for you guys and for Casey. That's just a testament to your guys' grit to be here. So
thank you, so man. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. So Zach, let's dive in. Let's give our audience kind of an intro, just a bio of kind of who you are and what you do and kind of your passion.
Sure. No, I appreciate it, Jon. Yeah. So who I am, I'm a father, I'm a business owner, entrepreneur, former professional athlete. I've been in business for myself for the better part of the last 18 years. For 14 years, I ran a sports performance facility for athletes, first of its kind here where I'm from in Florida. And then the last 5 years, but really this is my fourth year in business. I've been in the marketing, especially the digital marketing game. But I'm a guy that wears many hats. In addition to being a father and a business owner, I'm also a college baseball coach, and I'm a program director for an organization called NASBLA, which was founded by a bunch of Coast Guard guys. I go out and train law enforcement from time to time on how to use unmanned aircraft. But really my passion has been marketing over the past couple of years. So that's kind of how I identify myself now. But yeah, I'm ready to dive in, brother.
We love it. You geek out on marketing, right?
I love the market. Yeah, the marketing game is something that I feel the industry needs to have a better understanding of. I think there's a lot of bad marketers out there, but there's also a lot of good marketers out there. And it's those that come to the table like, hey, wanting to do best by businesses and really by customers and clients that I think are winning nowadays. And that's what I've tried to impart to my clients. Like, hey, marketing is literally the lifeblood of your business. And I want to teach you how to do it right and how to do it so it's in alignment with your goals and visions. And it's been a pretty good ride the last couple of years.
That's awesome. I love it. Okay. So before we kind of dive into your journey and talking about going from pro ball to owning a sports center, and then obviously getting into marketing, just kind of along your journey, have you had a life verse or kind of scripture or something that has inspired you along the way?
Yeah, there's been a bunch, man. I think there was a point where I literally started my gym was kind of my first foray into business. And I went from a small garage style gym to a mega sports performance facility. Went just through the ups and downs of running that, and then ultimately losing that business really put things into perspective for me a couple of years ago, and realized, there's always a bigger plan for us. And the scripture that's always stood out for me was Deuteronomy, where it says, "For the Lord your God goes with you; He will never leave you or forsake you." And it reminds me of that. And I had this quote printed out for a long time. It was that footprint story where I can't say verbatim, but it really put things in perspective. Like, that the Lord is always with you, even when you think you're alone. And I could see that. I could almost feel that when I was going through the kind of the lowest parts of losing my business and effectively lost my identity for, I'd say, the better part of a year. I just floundered around until I kind of picked myself back up and said, hey, I'm going to go into this. I'm going to go into this next thing with my whole heart and figure it out. So it was a powerful time for me.
That's awesome. It's funny you talk about that. When I was a kid, I was 9, I lost my brother. And I've talked about this a little bit on the podcast in the past, but I just remember somebody gave that poem. I guess it's unknown. But man, I held on to that for years as a kid, because it's basically talking about like, I did all this by myself and all these things. And like you, I don't remember the whole thing, but at the end it was like, and then God talks back and he's like, yeah, it wasn't your footprints and it was sand, it was mine, because I was carrying you through it the whole time. And 100%. Man, it's like you read that, man, and it's powerful.
Yeah, I mean, I can still read that and it brings tears to my eyes, because I realized like there was a bigger plan. And I've always been the type as an athlete, like I planned out my life best I could, and then just realized like, hey, sometimes you just got to take your lumps, and there's a bigger reason for it. And for me, I knew when I lost my business, I lost the passion for the business, and I should have exited probably 5 years prior to that. So it was just time.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit this morning as far as, and I wanted to bring that up. I'm glad you said that, because I was actually thinking about that as we were talking. But you talked about, you knew for about 5 years or several years you kind of lost your passion. What is one of those kind of indicators, like as you're starting to lose stuff, maybe for people to make that shift? Because I think sometimes if we're in business or we're doing things, it's like, you need to jump, but you're not jumping because it's the unknown. And then you look back years later and you're like, man, I knew the whole time I should have left, and it cost me way more money, you're like, I could have been way more ahead. What do you say to those people, or you had the opportunity to go back to yourself and say, hey, you need to do this?
Yeah, it was, I think a part of the reason I held on for so long was just fear of the unknown. Realizing like, hey, all my money was invested in that gym. Everything I had earned from baseball and just saving up over the years took out a home equity loan. So I was like, I can't leave this. I knew I couldn't sell it either. I'd gone to a business broker. It's like, you're lucky if you can get, a tenth of what you put into this.
That was encouraging.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, all right, I'm effectively stuck. But I would say the reason I knew 5 years out was because I would think of going back to the gym. I ran split shifts. I'd go in first thing in the morning, run a boot camp for adults and do that for a couple hours. And then, you kind of, there's that lag time middle of the day. I hated going back in there end of the day. And I was like, this isn't right, because these kids need the best of what I got. I had a staff and I had employees, but I would still go in to do business things. I'd lost the love for it. So it was, again, to me, it was just the fear of the unknown, but losing that spark, that was signals that I should have exited a long time ago.
Sometimes you just got to jump.
Yep, 100%. So, and unfortunately, the way it kind of fell apart, it just ended up costing me so much more in the back end. Literally had to, my business partner died and walked away with nothing. I mean, I could at least have given it away to somebody had I known that was going to happen.
It's hard, man. There's nothing like hindsight, right? 2020.
100%.
Okay, so let's kind of talk a little bit about your life journey, and you can just kind of skim through it. But yeah, you played pro ball, and talk a little bit about that. And then you jumped into owning your business, and then you kind of got into marketing. But actually, let me ask you this: how did you get into marketing? Because that's really your passion now, and you've kind of honed in on it. But I remember this morning, and I hope you recap on this. You talked a little bit about being a catcher, and then how, like, seeing the big picture, and then how that's kind of tied into marketing. I wish we could have recorded it. It was a great conversation, but kind of tie those together, how those have overlapped now.
Yeah, no, it was interesting. This kind of came into my awareness a couple months ago, where it's like, I'm still effectively doing what I did as a ball player. I was a catcher, and typically a catcher, if he does his job, you never notice him, because he's the one that makes the pitcher look good. He's calling the game. He's studying hitters. He's anticipating what's going to happen if a guy gets on base, and he has the whole field in front of him. It's the only position on the diamond that has the entire field in his perspective. So as a marketing person, now I can go into businesses and work with clients and say, I can see the field. I know what's going to work here, and so the two parlay, and working with clients now, there's even some mindset component to it. Now, this is a grind. Like, the marketing, the likelihood of you hitting a home run in your first at bat is pretty slim, meaning that you're going to go out there with a message. It may not work, may work, whatever. But I was working with a client a couple weeks ago, and he was getting ready for a webinar and just freaking out. Things were breaking. He had 2 hours before the webinar hit, and it was similar to going out to the mound to pat my pitcher on the butt and say, hey, you're gonna get through this, man. Just breathe deeply, go out there and throw strikes. So it's the same thing. Like, it's interesting how the two have kind of worked together. And I revel in that position. I love helping business owners. Like, I get fired up when I get you guys wins. There's leads, there's sales that come in. Like, that's what I'm passionate about. So yeah, the two go hand in hand. And I was super grateful for my career as a baseball player, but I'm still doing the same thing. It just got a little different look to it. For sure.
Okay. So I always like to get this story that I call "Can't Be Worse Than This" moment. And what I mean by that is it's kind of like Moses standing at the Red Sea, and you're like, okay, I can't go forward because I have obstacles. And if I go back, I'm going to die, obviously. So metaphorically speaking, obviously, what has been a moment like that for you in your life that was like, it couldn't be worse than this? God, you have to show up to save me, and then kind of seeing the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, so I'd lost my business for 14 years. My relationship with my kid's mom had fallen apart, and thank God we're great. We're actually really good friends now. But there was a point where I was homeless 2 weeks, just like living out of my car. I remember having to drive to the gym to get a shower to go to my job for the day. And it was like, that was probably as hard as it got, because I would sit up in my car late at night, just trying to figure out, like, what is my next step? Like, why aren't things working for me? And I remember driving over to the beach one morning to get to the sunrise. And I was out there probably an hour before the sunrise, and just this profound peace came over me, man. It's like, you are exactly where you need to be. Just relax into this. Things are going to be okay. Like, you're going to bounce back. So, and it was, I can't explain it. That's happened multiple times in my life, where I've had this profound peace, and I've heard God's voice, and I've definitely, when I've sat down and prayed, I've gotten the guidance that I needed. But at that point, for whatever reason, it was just so much in my head that it wasn't until I got up to that beach and watched that sunrise that morning that I finally made that connection. It's like, yeah, things are going to be okay. And I bounced back in a big way soon after that.
I love that story. A lot of times I think I think we get so, I don't know if the word's upset, but like we want to avoid pain and we want to naturally, and we want to avoid conflict and all those things. But like, I always think about, and people know this, but like diamonds are made from coal, which is under pressure and fire and heat. And it's like, we don't become the better ourselves, the better version of what God created us to be, until we really get in those circumstances. And what's funny is it can do us either way. We can get in a circumstance like that, and we can go really terrible, or it can really refine us. And it just depends on the choice and the road we decide to make to go in either direction. But when we allow that, I mean, what God can do, that purifying process, man, it's a very, very painful process. I've been there, but it's so beautiful when you come out on the other end.
Yeah, 100%. Love that.
So, okay. So at what point did you kind of feel like your passion for marketing? When did you kind of realize you're like, hey, I really like this. I feel like this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to go after it.
Yeah, marketing, my foray into marketing happened by necessity. I'd hired multiple marketing companies when I was running my facility and realized most people were just kind of giving you a piece of the puzzle. So then just said, hey, I'm going to figure this thing out for myself. And that was back in the days of like dial-up internet and just literally the beginning of the internet. But for whatever reason, I started falling in love with like designing a website and like bringing that creation to life. Similar to how it must feel to build a house, I was building properties online. Yeah. So just kind of started geeking out about it. But really realized, once I started doing this as a full-time job, like there was so much to learn between, the design part, the technical part, that kind of took care of itself, but really understanding the psychology that goes behind this and how you enter a market and how you get into the head of your ideal customer and really speak to their pains and problems and goals and desires. All that stuff is to me the coolest part, because that's the science behind this. The art is building nice looking stuff, but the science is that psychology part of this. So I would say it's been the last 2 years where I've completely locked in, and now I understand the metrics behind it. That's now I know I'm in the right spot.
So was there a point where you kind of were slowly making the transition and you're like, okay, I need to go all in? Like you knew it's all or nothing. I'm going to make this transition because you knew for sure. Yeah.
I would say I was doing this full time, and I've always been the type that's had a couple of jobs, because that going homeless for 2 weeks, like kind of put things in perspective. Like I'll never let that happen again. But I would say 2 years ago is like, if I'm going to do this right, and I'm going to do it in a big way, I have to go all in. So that's right. Same thing I did when I built my facility or played sports was I dedicated 16, 18-hour days. I still pull time like that because there's just so much to learn. And I love going deep in with a business owner and like figuring out what makes them tick and how they attract people. So yeah, I would say 2 years ago is when I went all in and just really wanted to understand the metrics behind it. So I feel like I've learned more.
I was laughing when you're talking about the psychology of it. I never thought I would do this. I can't tell you how many books I have bought in the last 5 years that have to do with the psychology of selling, like people's thoughts, buying patterns, like just for the simple fact, like it's really interesting, like even things down to specific words, colors, shapes, like all those stuff every day. Like people don't even realize that you use Facebook or Instagram, all that stuff. All that has been scientifically studied as far as like the layout, the words, the colors, the fonts, all that stuff. There's a psychology there. I mean, that's not random. Like people think that's just there and that's what somebody picked. No, there is literally a science behind it of why they're using colors, all that stuff.
And what's wild about it now, John, is platforms like Facebook are run by machines. It's AI at a very deep level. So they understand us better than we understand ourselves. They know what websites we've looked at, what our shopping patterns. So as marketers now, it's actually gotten a little bit easier where we can just focus on developing the right message and calling up the ideal client versus having to go into the back end and like tweak targeting and build websites and whatever you need to do. The Facebook and platforms like it have said, just lean into us. Like we know we'll go find your ideal clients. Just sit back and focus on content, like deliver value to the market, and it'll pay itself in spades, which we've seen over the last 6 months as we've taken that to heart, like our clients are booming. Like they're going, even through this COVID thing, like most of our clients crushed it just because we're delivering value to the market and being timely and relevant.
That's awesome, man. Okay. So I want to ask you this. What do you feel like your biggest strength is? And that's in any area. You could do business, as a person, whatever it is, but what do you feel like your biggest strength is?
Man, that's a great question. So I would say it's just having that vision, and I also have the ability. Sometimes I guess it's a superpower, but I can get people to buy into their own vision sometimes. So, I've always used that for good, but I realized, especially with my facility, like people just took what I said to heart and took action on that. So I would say, vision, the ability to see the field and to anticipate trends as they come up is probably my biggest strength.
I love it. Okay. You called it a superpower. So what's your kryptonite?
It would definitely be, like, most ideas seem like great ideas.
Yeah.
So my ability, I think, discernment and prudence, like I've taken some of those personality tests and just, I'm what do they call it? Ready to fire aim guy.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's probably been my biggest thing. I'm a big picture guy. So, the details can kind of, I have people supporting me that take care of the details.
Yeah. No, I'm the same way. That's what Casey and I balance each other out really well. I'm like, I shoot and then I go, oh, I missed. Where do I need to shoot again? And then I keep shooting and targeting. Casey's the opposite. She's like, okay, you have 2 bullets. Make it work. This is where you need to shoot. So
that's awesome.
It's pretty funny. It's always interesting between you and I, her and I. Okay, so I want to talk about what kind of some of the stuff you're doing right now. So we've worked together. You've helped me with my business. I've loved working with you. In the midst of that and getting to know you, I know that you have come out with a product specifically to help business owners like myself to learn marketing, to understand it. Will you talk about kind of what you're doing right now and what you've come up with the last couple of months?
Yeah, my partner and I, John, he's based out of Australia, have come up with what we call a pilot program. It's effectively teaching small business owners the fundamentals of digital marketing in a very easy to implement way, where we help them unpack their genius, is what we call it, and develop these foundational frameworks so that they can go to any channel online, especially whether it's Facebook, Google, Twitter, whatever, and put the right message out there. So we've done it in a way where the most tech illiterate people can take it and run with it. We build very simple 2-page funnels, and we literally just go out and find out, is there demand for what your offer is or what your products are? And we can do it using Facebook, which is probably the hardest platform to do it, and say, yeah, this is going to work, or no, we need to pivot, or we need to come up with a different message. And the neat thing was we took 10 just regular business owners through this program a month ago, and 7 out of the 10 launched in a huge way. Like we're generating a ton of leads for them, and they've gotten an ROI from it. Like they've bought in and kind of moved into the second phase of that, which is working with us as an agency. But this is designed for any small business owner so that they can have a much better conversation with their marketing team, or just understand what they're looking at. So we teach them how to read their numbers and really hold their marketing team accountable. That was the biggest reason for this, was we were just angry that people were getting ripped off by marketing companies, and nobody ever taught anybody how to look at their metrics and look at their dashboards. So that's what we teach. It can be overwhelming at times, but we support everybody that's in that program. Like we have pretty much 24/7 coverage. If they have questions, one of us is on there to answer questions, and it's a pretty cool program. So,
okay, I want you to talk about your 10 people. Why don't you let's talk about the unicorn of the 10, kind of medium range, kind of some of the stuff that you saw, and then you had maybe 3 people that didn't do very well. Maybe they didn't implement. Why don't you talk about those 3 levels? And the reason I want to talk about this is because this really, in my opinion, applies not just to marketing, business, but every area of our life. So if you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to have a better marriage, if you're trying to grow your business, it doesn't matter. basically the way you apply yourself into something in any area is the results you're going to get.
Yeah. And like we always said in the gym, 80% of it is just showing up. And you can probably attest to this, John, but my best lifts or the days I PR'd when I was really lifting heavy were the days I didn't want to go to the gym.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing that we saw in our program. Like 80% of the people that were successful showed up to every call, and we only have there's just a handful of calls. So, but they were long 2-hour calls where we kept everybody in a jump seat and said, "Hey, you need to speak up. We need to see your dashboard. We need to effectively fly, take you through the paces and make sure you can fly." So it was the 7 that showed up that got results, and we were working with clients all over the world. So. There was an IT services guy out of Denmark who was targeting other businesses, and he was going to be a tough one for us. We said, we don't know if we can get a result for this guy, but we were able to hit $5 leads, which is awesome. He generated up to 100 leads through the pilot program, and now he's off, having his conversations and selling deals.
Hold on real quick so people can understand. Yeah. So his lead costs $5. And for some people like, wow, that's a lot of money. But what is a lead worth to him? So if he potentially lands one of those leads at $5, it cost him $5. He's got to nurture it. What was his return on his money on that? Something like that.
Yeah, that's a great question because every business is a little different. So, and $5 is kind of the standard we try to hit. But for him, a customer was worth $12,000 a year because he does high level IT security type management, and he was able to close a couple of deals, which is cool.
Okay, so just real quick, I'm just thinking numbers. So let's say he got 100 leads, so that cost him $500, and he landed how many people?
He landed 2 within the scope of our program, and I think he had 8 conversations. So he was the type that said, "Hey," when he asked us, and we helped him break down his numbers, but we needed to know what his conversion tool was. And to us, a conversion tool is how do you go from lead generation to lead conversion? So that could be a strategy call, it could be a demo in person. In your case, it could be a free estimate and a follow-up call. Online, it could be webinars, mini courses. There's different ways to skin that cat. But he was accustomed to doing.
Okay, so for him, it cost him $1,000, whatever, to be in the program. Then he spent $500 in marketing, landed 2 customers, and got $24,000. Did you say 11 or 12,000 per customer? 12. Well,
it's 12,000 over the course of the year, so he does. Okay. That's $1,000 a month return. But yeah, he made back his investment in spades after the first month, which is, and that with us, it's So the next guy was a rural succession guy that he's a farmer or he works with farmers in Australia, and even with COVID he was able to, I don't think he's closed the deal, but he's had conversations with his target market, and he generated like 270 leads. Nice. And he's got a way higher price point. He's helping people that pay him $15,000 on the spot to handle their succession planning. And the unicorn was a life coach out of California. She had spent thousands.
Hey, wait, hold on. Tell people, because some people, you and I, we're talking, like, I know what a unicorn is, but so people understand, what are we calling a unicorn?
Yeah. So unicorn in our world is if we can generate, and these are our benchmarks. So it's a $3 lead. It's a 75 cent cost per click. And there's different numbers we look at. So if you can do better than that, then you're a unicorn in our space. Okay. So she's still running. She's at 75 cents a lead. So 75 cents a lead. It's like 20 cents a click. She's generated close to 1,000 leads in the past month. Okay. And to us, she just has such a profound, or just such a message that locked with her audience that it's been night and day for her.
What's been her return on her money?
I'm embarrassed to say it. So it's like a couple 100x.
Wow.
Which is not what everyone. So what we look for, John, is like, can we get you a 2 or 5x return on investment? That's like our goal. Right. So everyone comes in a little different price points or services. So that's, I don't want to say that's, that's why it's a unicorn. That's not the norm, but I mean, that's not awesome. Yeah. But I think it has a lot to do with, one, she had a good message. I'm assuming she's good at what she does. She put in the work.
It's just, there's a lot of factors in there, but I think sometimes when all those things can converge into one at one time and you kind of hit that sweet spot, every once in a while you get a home run.
Yeah, exactly.
So, okay. I love it. So real quick, I do want to tell Roar Nation, I'm excited about this because we worked together a little bit. You are offering a program, to some of our listeners. That's not why we're doing the podcast, but we did talk about it. If somebody wants to get involved, wants to learn marketing, wants to, needs help and wants to become a program or any of that stuff, how do they get a part of that program?
Yeah, they come, just come to your website, areyoureal.org/pilot. And on that way, we'll have a description of the program. We just take 10 clients at a time because although we call it a 21-day pilot program, we run for 4 weeks, and effectively everyone's getting agency level support, meaning they can call, they can pick up the phone, they can jump on a Zoom call. We've worked them through their message and how to set all this up. At the same time, we're also coaching and training, saying, hey, this is what you need to understand and need to learn. You need to read that back to us. So it's kind of a back and forth that way. But yeah, if you go to areyoureal.org/pilot, we just want to work with small business owners. We did take on a couple agency clients for the last program, which wasn't a good fit for them nor for us. So we'd prefer just to work with small business owners. And this could be local business owners. It could be subject matter experts, thought leaders. You have a message to share, we can help you out, including churches. I mean, it would be awesome for churches.
Yeah, I meant to say that, and I forgot. I did say that a little bit this morning. Guys, don't be surprised. Like, this isn't about business only. I think sometimes we get in that space, but like, people need to hear, if you're a nonprofit or if you're a church or a ministry, like, people need to help. You need to get your message out there. People need to hear it. And the only way that's going to be done right is through marketing. So I encourage you guys, if you're a ministry, church leader, any of that type of stuff, I would highly recommend you need that, because people need to hear you and your resources and the things that you're doing. So it's definitely a perfect fit. So that also being said, if you guys decide to be part of Zach's program, my book is going to launch this month, Speaking God's Frequency. It radically changed our business. I will also be sending you, if you sign up and Zach says, hey, somebody signed up off of this, I'm going to send you a free book from us just to say thank you for being a part of it. So that being said, okay. So Zach, enough about marketing. I want to ask you this. So not all of us are called to be pastors or podcasts or any of that kind of stuff, but very simple. The gospel tells us, Jesus wants us to share our faith with people, to encourage people, love people, and be a light. How do you do that through your life and through your business?
Awesome, John. Yeah, to me, and I've felt called to serve for a long time. Definitely felt it through sports, and I was always considered more of like a team captain. So I felt like I led by example. Especially as a younger person, led by example. I was almost like Mamba or Kobe. Like I was the guy that was first off the field. I was going to show up, and I led by example that way. Wasn't the rah leader, the one that was going to yell and scream, but I felt like I led by example. Well, that changed as I started running businesses and have moved into more of a mentor role. And it's pretty cool over the last couple of years. Notice like. It's really not about the chase anymore for me. It's been more just sit back and be present, listen to people, and hold that space for them. Keep a safe place for them to be themselves and be authentic. And that's been probably the way I best show up now.
Love it. Okay. As we wrap up the show, I want to ask you this. So you are Marty McFly, and you are hanging out with Doc Brown, and you're going to take a trip in the DeLorean. But you can't change the future. You just can go back to the past. What age would you pick, and what advice are you going to give yourself?
Yeah, that's awesome. I'd say I'd go back to my mid-20s when I was in that, pushing through this and just grinding through it, and just say, hey, just learn to relax. Like, and I heard this before. It's the journey is the destination. Like, I was so hell bent on like, I had to be a Major League Baseball player, or I had to build a multi-million-dollar business to be successful. And that's not it at all. To me, the journey is the destination, or the process is the point. And I would just give myself that higher perspective.
Yeah, that's good, man. I think it takes a lot of years of grinding, of failing and all that stuff to when you finally hit that point, both of us have, to where you realize like, dude, it's not about the numbers. It's not about the big buildings. It's not about whatever it is that we think it is, man. It really comes down, for me, I always say, man, love God, love people, and just serve. And when you start doing that and you start serving people like Jesus served for us, like everything just comes together and your business is going to thrive, I think, because it's authentic and we're being who we're called to be. And when you start serving people, everything it's just an overflow of it. And it's really a cool process.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's really it's definitely been what I've noticed over the past couple of years is it's all about serving, and it's about our fellow man and just doing right by people. And I think the rest takes care of itself.
I agree. All right, man. So as parting thoughts, you get the microphone. What is some words of encouragement, wisdom, anything you want to say as we wrap up the show?
Yeah, I'd say find your passion, like follow your passion. And it's pretty easy to find when you know what to look for and how it feels. And to me, it's always like what brings you the most excitement. And that's what you should be doing first. Like to me, that's everything. Follow what brings you passion and purpose, and follow that feeling of excitement, because it just spirals from there.
Yes, come on with that. All right, Zach, hold on just a second. So Roar Nation, if you need some help, want to get a hold of Zach, you can reach out to the link that he talked about, rureal.org /pilot. And we'll get a hold of you guys, and we'll reach out and love to help you any way we can. Also, please rate and review us on iTunes. And I just want to tell you guys, it means a lot to me when you leave those. There's days that I don't feel like showing up and doing podcasts because we're busy or I want to hang out with my family. But I really get inspired when you guys leave those and you say, hey, it changed my life, or you send an email. I've got some lately that I need to respond to. Actually, we've been just kind of covered up, and I do plan on responding. But when you leave those reviews, it just encourages us to say, hey, wow, Casey and I are really making an impact in the world around us and encouraging people to better themselves and just to be real and authentic. So anyways, we love you guys. If you need anything, please reach out on Facebook and send us an email. We'd love to help you. And Zach would love to help you as well with marketing. Remember, be real, be authentic, and be you. God bless.
That's all for this episode of Are You Real? Finding the Authentic You. Be sure to go to rureal.org for your free questionnaire to identify your gifts and talents and how you can use them to help people become leaders and catapult them into their destiny to help others become the leaders of tomorrow. We appreciate you spending your time with us and look forward to helping you reach out and revolutionize next time on Are You Real? Finding the Authentic You.